swing her around.
Yeah.
She was all pretty locked in, and relatively comfortable for being up that high. So if she only had to be up, I don't know how many feet, but under 20 feet, she'd be up on the parallelogram. And if she had to go any wider or higher, then she'd be up on a crane rig with wires.
Right.
And so the 2 times we had to actually fly her up. Once was on a parallelogram, and so they lifted her up, and then we took her off from there. So as soon as she got up to like 8 to 10 feet, she turned digital double.
Right.
That's how she leaves Genosha.
Okay.
Eric's encampment, when she takes off at the end, she's a digital takeover off a parallelogram.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
And then she flies away again in her neighborhood after confronting Mystique.
Oh.
That time it was a wire rig, and she gets lifted up, and then we take her over on that one.
You're leading to what has ended up as the new final act. Could you give me a little sort of thumbnail of how your work hands off to them, what you were able to give them, or did you work concurrently?
It was an interesting process because as we got into the third act and it expanded into like what Jean becomes, they started getting Scanline involved because it became more clear that there was actually going to be not just an evolutionary build and sort of the original plans of what our Phoenix work would then sort of transition. It became clear in sort of a helpful way in terms of splitting work that she would pretty much go from what we call like a 4 to a 10. It wouldn't be like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. She would just in a very short space of time she would become this other intensive character, so that Phil decided that at a certain point we would build her up to a certain point as the character, as a story, and then it would almost be the next shot where Scanline's Jean would be a more intensive version where there had to be some creative handoff. Like, for example, the cracks we developed in her face, the last time we touch her, our cracks get a little bit brighter, skinnier, more of them, and then Scanline's first shot is only that. So they never do any of the more subtle cracks in acting moments that we were doing for the earlier part of the movie. They're just doing the action like Jean is now Phoenix. So we didn't end up sharing, I mean, we shared some bits of, asset work and some shot setup, but when it came to developing the effects, they worked off of the images we had created and built their own thing, because most of what they do, all of the energy and emission and everything off of her, we never really had to do. Because that all happens when when Dark Phoenix takes over, when she's broken out of the train.
Right, okay. So all that stuff, all that conversation I had with Brian about demol, did you hear about that? The technique they call demol.
Sorry, we did invent the demol thing.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
I claim it. It is I forgot that is an effect that we start as Jean, she explodes, and then she, in the second act, when she's in the French embassy, Magneto comes to challenge her. We start demol or demolecularizing the wall, the world around her, as if her energy is influencing the world and kind of breaking it down.
I see.
And it reforms. So we came up with the term demol is her sort of atomizing things around her, and remol is the fact that it cycles back and reforms.
I see.
So it's not like she's destroying the world around her. It just shows that her power is so much that it's in flux. If she decides to let it can all be destroyed, or she'll just sort of let it keep reforming itself.
Okay, all right. Well, that's...
and so,
Okay, I'm glad I mentioned that, because I was just about to start waxing poetic with Brian all about talking about that. Well,
you can get his take on it too, because they take it to another level when they have her scenes, because she really does get in destructive mode.
Okay.
With our demol thing, she never really tears things up with it. It's more about her energy level increasing is affecting the environment around her.
All right. Okay. All right.
And I think when Brian takes over, she's really